Now, a very popular Nollywood actor has just passed on. And it reminded me of the time when she was being paraded. I think it was just last year. And she was paraded by Jeremiah Motafufuene and his team and his people over there. And they bring these celebrities to kind of draw an attention to themselves. And this kind of reminded me of that story. So this lady just passed away right now, just a year after receiving a call from Jeremiah Motafufuene and all these gifts, supposed gifts that he does for celebrities. And it's a stunt to build hype for his church and stuff like that, and he does that a lot. Now, charity to many people wins their hearts to a point where they forget the intentions that it was done by, or the intentions in which it was done. And I can understand why people choose to see things that way. But for me, it just plagues my head, it plagues my mind, how people want to use each other or use other people in order to further themselves or further their agenda. And today, it'll be we are mourning, they'll be supposedly mourning with the family or whatnot. While as when these people were here, they were used as props for other people to see the man of God in a certain light, or see the man of God as this holy man. But they forget people are being used, whose people's lives are being pulled in order for one man to endorse himself. Now, I said this when we made the video on, what's his name? Mr. Ibu. When Mr. Ibu had hospital issues and he was taken to the hospital, I was asking those that were using him to endorse themselves, Bushiri and so forth, where are they? Those that prophesy that they bring healing and so forth. When these people become sick, ill, almost to their deathbeds, where are they? Those that used them to push their own image or to push their own agenda and so forth. Now, I absolutely love this lady in her movies, the movies that she acted and everything. And that's the appreciation we have for their careers and how far their careers have taken them. But it is sad when you see people used the way that they tend to be used by these churches, especially nowadays. A person who was a celebrity or a veteran celebrity, they just pawns in people's eyes. They were given the scars and they were, I don't know if there was all this hype that was put up when they were over there. And you almost forget that these are people that acted these roles that have inspired a generation, but not apart from that, stories that taught a lot of moral upstanding. We learned a lot from all those old Nigerian movies, not the modern ones where they just want to perpetuate whatever ideas, but the old movies where you learned some moral values. You came out thinking of, hey man, families can be this brutal. This type of a person might be what? A person that you are very much loving towards. These are the roles that they acted. And when these people pass, like this lady right now, for me, it reminds me of all these people that were there, seen as endorsing them or being helpful towards them, while as we all know that they were being used. And if you mention it, you might look like the bad guy. If you mention it, you might look like you're trying to pull strings around the story. Well, it's the real fact is that they were being used for the popularity of a certain person. But also it brings up another interesting aspect of it. Our need as humans, whether it be celebrity or whatnot, to belong to a community or so forth. And that's what church provides. And unfortunately, some people land up themselves into the wrong churches, or they land themselves in the wrong congregations, like the lady Patience whatnot, the lady who is in Odumeje's church, where because there was this person who was very critical towards her being a member of this church, she was taught to curse this person by her prophet. And so we have situations like that, where you have people who go to churches and they are used a certain way. And unfortunately, that young lady passed with that lady having passed her curses, and it just ended at her curses. When that young lady gets to the other side, she will answer for her own, but that celebrity will answer for the curses that she rained on that young girl before the whole world, right? You guys might remember back in 2021, I once made a video about that particular situation because of how big it was. And at the end of the day, comes back to the story right here. The charlatans, the false prophets, and all these people who are using people for their popularity in the name of charity or in the name of... Go watch the videos. You know, when you watch the video back now after her passing, you really ask yourself, what values are we giving? What values are we bringing back? And what values are these people providing for those people that they claim to care for? What values are they providing? Whether be theological, you can point any if they have any. I find it very weird, the same person that we might want to talk theology was the same person that said God was angry at him for not building a house. The house that God had wanted to be built was this one, that he be received in this house. So these are the prophets. These are the modern day charlatans that are hailed and praised around the world. All they do is use people for their popularity. They remain relevant for the conversation. Oh yeah, he gave this person $1 million. You know, he gave this person so much. And they use that as PR. They use that to peddle a certain narrative. All of them, they don't do that because of the goodness of out of the goodness of their hearts. No. They do so because this helps them peddle a certain narrative once they are seen in the public's face. You watch those videos back, it kind of makes you cringe and you think, do these people not have a conscience? When you put people, like if you're doing something good for someone, you know it's beneficial for them. They don't have to act anyhow or funny. But that's what I see when I see some of these things. But maybe I'm just overthinking it. If those false prophets cared about people, they would stop using people for their own benefit, for their popularity. They do so when people die. Supposedly, I prophesied it. They do so when people are ill. They bring them claiming to be healing them. They do so when these people are facing some predicament in their life, claiming one thing or the other, claiming one thing or claiming that whatever they're doing, God has sent them to do it for these individuals. They use people. People die, they claim, oh yeah, I was there prophesying. When they know very well there was no prophecy that was done. It's just to their benefit. But when you warn of these people, a lot of people feel like you are being hateful because they don't see the intent that is clearly displayed. Yes, we can't always point at the intent of people's hearts because that's something that only God would know, right? But there are those that have consistently used people. It's very clear in the way that they portray themselves. It's very clear in the way that they consistently portray themselves. And for me, this particular story just kind of reminded me of that. And I wanted to come back here, RIP to Sister Cynthia here. And I hope she found the message of salvation before this time. But this idea that these people get used, it just doesn't sit well in my head. It's the same thing that I've said about these prophecies, death prophecies and stuff like that, and said it's not the gospel. People keep treating this death prophecies as if it's the gospel. These people use people.